Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our quarterly Maryland Vision Zero meeting. Great to have everybody here today. My name is Chrissy Nizer. I'm the Motor Vehicle Administrator and Governor Moore's Highway Safety Representative. Before we get started, we'll go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves. Joe?
Joe McAndrew, Assistant Secretary at Secretary's Office.
Bruce Gardner, Executive Director of the Maryland Transportation Authority.
Cedric Ward, Director of SHA's Office of Traffic Safety.
Terry Chase, Deputy Chief Operating Officer for the State Highway Administration.
Candace Bailey, Safety Data Analyst for MDA.
Myra Weeman, Deputy Director, Highway Safety Office.
Tim Kearns, Director of the Highway Safety Office.
Todd Lang, Baltimore Metropolitan Council.
Cindy Birch, Baltimore Metropolitan Council.
Cliff Jacobs, Impaired Driving Program Manager, Highway Safety Office.
Cynthia Spriggs, Pedestrian Bicycle Speed Aggressive Program Manager for the Highway Safety Office.
Anna Lebedusky, Director of Strategy for MDA.
Great, thank you. And as usual, we are live streaming, so welcome to any members of the public who are joining us today. Certainly appreciate you taking the time to be with us. So as we're getting started, I wanted to take a few minutes to let Assistant Secretary McAndrew talk about what Secretary Wiedefeld has put forward in terms of MDOT's new overreaching campaign called Serious About Safety, the reaffirmation and elevation, I would say, of our commitment towards zero deaths, which the legislature has made very clear is our mission in Maryland and something that I know we all personally believe in. So, Joe?
Thank you. Secretary Wiedefeld and soon-to-be acting Secretary Biddle are committed and supportive of this effort, as well as all of the efforts that we're doing across the board. I think, central to our work is making sure we have a safe place to work, a safe place for folks to go ahead and transport themselves from point A to point B. It's really mission critical to our success. And how we go about it, we can't do it on our own. It takes a collective effort. This is one element of that, but whether it be a planning exercise, a project, or our own voice and reach and lift, I think that's the core focus of the Serious About Safety. It's elevating. It's not necessarily duplicating. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is encourage the collective to take the areas that we have control today, lean in, deliver on the plans that we have, and also think how we can go a little bit bolder when and where possible, and commit to that delivery. We might miss the mark a couple times, but at the end of the day, nobody's going to fault the effort that we're putting behind it, right? And we've got amazing resources and an amazing team, many of the folks here, as well as our partners at the MPOs, local jurisdictions that are committed to this as well. So it's really kind of a three-part effort. One is what can we do and deliver and implement at the highest and best level within the tools and the capacities that we have. Two, it's how do we advocate, use our voice to advocate, a partner for more positive outcomes. And we're going to announce soon a safety change makers cohort, shall we say, because at the end of the day, achieving Vision Zero, achieving the lofty goals that we're all committed to, doesn't just rest with the state DOT. Really, it's the collective. It's those folks driving a vehicle or using the transportation system. It's our local leaders who own and operate and maintain facilities, as well as it's our legislators who advance positive policies or funding proposals that can help us enable and achieve. So how do we work together to deliver those meetings? We want to advocate together. And then third is, think strategically, what tools are we lacking today that we need additional kind of legislative support, whether it be at the local level, the federal level, or at the state level. So those are kind of the 3-point efforts, but I think in general, this effort is not being put together to say that we aren't doing enough. We are doing a lot. It's the question of how do we drive focus and attention and give lift as kind of the core element. I think when Secretary Wiedefeld joined, there's this amazing event every summer the MACO conference where we do we meet with each county one-on-one. And after we got done that first year, he closed the door, thanked everybody, because those are challenging 2 days of speed dating. But he really kind of leaned in and said he wants us to really focus in. It's important that we do our part to limit fender benders, but really focus in on life saved. That's the key objective of what we can do. If we can save lives, you can limit those fender benders and those other challenges, but we want to make sure that people can get home safely to their families on a daily basis. And so that's kind of what we're after here. And ultimately give lift and focus and support to the collective effort, this and others.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I think it's really important context as we start the conversation with the Vision Zero Committee. And I think that we are so fortunate in Maryland that from the governor, lieutenant governor, as well as the secretary, we have that buy-in in terms of safety being the number one priority. It doesn't exist in every state, and so I think it does lift up our efforts and help us be more successful ultimately in what we're trying to accomplish. I'll start with a little bit of good news before I turn it over to Tim, which is that the numbers are moving in the right direction as we consider prior years, which is good, never enough, but love to see the reductions. And as Joe said, to me, the percentages are impressive, but the number of lives that are saved in comparison to last year is what always is impactful to me, and thinking those are families who are whole and not impacted by an empty seat at the table. So good news there. I know we all mourned the lives of the two young people, though, that were lost in hot cars. And so because this is live streamed, and I know we're trying to all use our social media networks to remind everybody about taking that extra time to make sure nothing's in the car. Lots of great strategies, whether it's putting that teddy bear in the front seat or some sort of indicator that that means the little one is in the back. And such as parents, grandparents, caregivers, all those who might happen to have a young person in the car. We try so hard to take precious time for our youngest, and it just breaks our heart when we see what happened, and unbelievable pain, I'm sure, for those families. So we will continue to do that. I think we're looking at some other ways we can try to get that message out. We've been fortunate in the last few years, but to see two this year is really troubling, and so that's an area that we want to continue to lift up. With that, I will turn it over to Tim to give that update in terms of fatality numbers and tell us exactly where we are.
Sure. Thanks, Chrissy. As Chrissy mentioned, this year has been a little bit better than recent years. Just to put some numbers on that, we are 64 fatalities below where we were as of July 17th last year. So that's a pretty good number. That's 21% below what last year's numbers were. So if we can stay on that same track for the rest of the year. We've only had 1 month that was higher than last year. That was February, and that was only higher by 1. So we've had a fairly good stretch of months here. Even pedestrian fatalities, the percent that they make up of all of our fatalities across the state are down just a little bit. Usually we've been talking about 25%. Now we're down to 23. So it's not a big difference, but it is a little one. So we're making progress in the right direction there. I do want to give Cedric a minute, though. The last two evenings, you've had some long evenings because you've had lots of conversation online for your VRU assessment program. So if you want to talk about that, because I know you still have a couple of calls coming up.
So we did kick off the vulnerable road user assessment that is required to be part of the strategic highway safety plan. And so far, we've done about half the state. We've done the Eastern Shore, our District 1 and 2. We've done our District 3, which is the National Capital Region. Yesterday, we did Baltimore and Baltimore City. And so we have a couple more meetings to finish up, but the attendance has been very good attendance, good feedback. And hopefully we can take all that, put that together, and really start to help with implementation. But it is good to see I will say we did this 2 years ago. the level of engagement and participation is definitely up from when we did it 2 years ago. So thanks, everyone. I know many of you joined those calls and participated, so thank you for your participation and support.
I was on the one for the Eastern Shore, and just because my phone is connected to Teams, it sounded like it was playing a tune last night because it dinged every time that there was a comment made for the Baltimore region. So
Last night had a good turnout.
yes, there's a lot of music going on, so there's a lot of comments last night.
Was it the Baltimore region or just the city in Baltimore County?
And Hartford County.
And
Yeah.
Hartford, okay.
Yeah.
And what are the ones that are left to do? You said 2 more left to do. Do you want to throw those out there?
Yeah, so we have our District 5, which is kind of Anne Arundel, Southern Maryland, and then we have the western part of the state, which is our District 6 and 7. So basically Howard, Frederick, Carroll, and then all west Allegheny. So yeah, those will be done next week. We'll in total there'll be 5 meetings. We'll wrap those up next week. And a lot of good comments about, well, we already provided comments on a PSAT, right? Like, why are we doing this again? So it is important. We're starting to see how we message these things. Those outside of the department may not quickly be able to differentiate the differences. So we're making some tweaks with that, and just want to reemphasize that feedback you provided previously for PSAT corridors is still useful. Like, those projects are at the stage where we're implementing, right? We had the groundbreaking earlier this week. The VRU is more high level, strategic. How can we strengthen partnerships with counties, other MPOs? And so that's the difference that may not come across, but we've been working to try to make sure that message is clear.
That's great. And I'm sure if people are interested who are listening, they can go on to social media or your website to find out the specifics about how to join.
Yes.
I think these are good. In addition, they're not just state roads. Just for anybody listening,
Yep.
the VRU meetings are about county maintained.
Yep.
Outdoor. And I'll just say, moving forward, we won't have the same broad public meetings for PSAP corridors. We will take the information from the VRU meetings and then identify those corridors and then have like specific meetings on elements in that corridor. So there won't be kind of 2 initiatives.
Thank you.
Cedric had mentioned the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. We got the first draft back to the Highway Safety Office about a week ago. We've added our comments. We'll send it back to the contractor. They presented at the last meeting to talk about how the plan is being developed and put together. We'll send it back to them for revisions and updates. Then we'll send it out to the executive folks to get their feedback, because it is an SHA document, so we have to make sure that you guys have your eyes on it, make sure we didn't miss anything. Now that you've got a little inside information with Breck on board, he could provide some guidance as well. But we want to make sure everything is included before our plan is to have it back for approval at the next SHSP meeting, which is in October. So that's the goal. We want to make sure we're ready by the end of the year, though. The plan starts January 1st, 2026. So it's in pretty good shape, but there's some pieces that we want to make sure we add. Looking forward to the next 5 years, there are some pieces that we want to make sure we catch. We're talking about autonomous vehicles. We're talking about automated enforcement. All those things that will play a bigger role over the next 5 years. We want to make sure they're included. So we'll send it back for some of their amendments there. So now I will turn the bulk of the meeting over to Cedric. One of the requirements of the Vision Zero meeting is to go through the vulnerable road user assessment reviews, the vulnerable road user fatality reviews that SHA does for the persons walking or biking that were killed on state roadways. Because we took the first 2 meetings to kind of get our feet under us, so we knew, how we would look at them and how long they would take, and ensure we got into a good flow. The plan going forward is probably the summer meeting will have a big chunk if we need to catch up, because it's got fewer other topics that we'll talk about. When we get back into the fall, we'll have more of our updates for the SHSP emphasis areas and things like that, but it worked out so that July has a great opportunity to play catch up a little bit, so we're fairly as real time as we can be. There's a 6-month lag between when the crash might occur and when the fatality review has to be done. So we're trying to stay in that window, and this gets us a lot closer to being in that window. So I will turn the hour.
And I'll just add before Cedric gets started, we are going to do something a little bit different. As Tim said, we've, had a few meetings under our belt now, just trying to figure out the best way to manage the process. So robust conversation, which is great. We are going to vote on the report in chunks. So because there are quite a few on the agenda, we don't want to do it all en masse. So after about 3 of the reports are presented, then we'll ask for agreement or for somebody to pull one of the reports out. For instance, as we get to the end of the crashes Cedric is going to review, I think you're going to go back and some of the ones we asked for some follow-up will be presented. So completely up to the will of the body. If you want something pulled out, it doesn't have to be part of the group that we're voting on, but it'll be a little bit different this time because we are going to have that process. So Tim will facilitate us as we move there. But turn it over to you now, Cedric. Thank you.
Thank you. Wrong way.
Told you it was tricky.
All right. So just a summary. So we'll be looking at 18 crashes today, and just wanted to break down what that means high level. So out of those 18, most of them, 16 were pedestrian. There were 2 bicycle fatal crashes. They cover pretty much the spectrum, from what we call our context. So Zone B is missing, which is, I think, called an urban center. But otherwise, we got everything in there.
Can you explain what the zones mean? Just, I don't know that I'm as familiar with that.
Yeah, so it's essentially the combination of a land use. So, for example, Zone A is what we call urban core. That's your downtown Baltimore, your downtown Bethesda. We have about 8 to 10, I would say, across the state that fall into that Zone A. And then Zone E is on the other spectrum. That's more of your rural feel. Zone C is kind of that suburban feel. So like where we are right now would fall into a suburban out here on Ritchie Highway. So that kind of, hopefully that.
Thank you.
Terry, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah.
Oh. The majority of the crashes occurred at night, which isn't surprising. That's kind of been a consistent trend with vulnerable road users. So out of the 18, 16 of them occurred in dark conditions. And then it was a mix, almost a 50-50 split, whether they were intersection related or what we call mid-block. We jumped into the intersection a little bit more just to break down whether they were signalized and unsignalized, and it was a little bit more signalized. But so that's the overall summary of what we'll be looking at today. So this first crash happened in District 3, Prince George's County. It was a pedestrian crash. This is in that suburban activity center. The review didn't reveal that there were any infrastructure upgrades at this time. And this was one of the crashes that we had limited information to work off. The report came in after we did the review. So it was one of those cases that we had to go off of limited information. So this is one that now we have the report. We could probably go back and look at it again to see if there's anything missing that would change our ultimate recommendation on this one. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense if you didn't have the crash report during the review process, because I'm sure a lot more information at that point to provide the context.
Okay, so this one is actually one of the bike crashes. This happened in US 15 in the northern part of Frederick County.
Cedric, can you go back to that? That's just, what time was that one? It was
The previous one is at 9:10 p.m. I think.
Okay.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So just after, I mean, in June, you probably still have what kind of,
Yeah.
but it was more toward the dark time period.
Okay, thanks.
So this crash was a bike crash. This was at the entrance to the Cunningham Falls State Park, and in this crash, the bike wasn't traveling along US 15. They were actually trying to cross, and unfortunately, there was probably a miscalculation or misjudgment when they tried to cross, and a northbound vehicle struck them. So US 15 is interesting because there are bikes do use the shoulders for certain sections. There are some interchanges further down where we kind of take them off, but and then of course with the park here, there's the need, recreational activity. So in light of that, we felt the need to upgrade some warning signs, advisory speed limits, and we're definitely updating all the bicycle signs along US 15 to help those who may not be familiar with the area recognize that there could be bicycles. All right, so this one is another pedestrian crash.
Sorry, going back to that one, what's the median like in that area? Is there, if the bike were to go across, is there a refuge? It looks pretty wide.
The median's like 50 feet. So a lot of vehicles kind of do it like a two-stage.
Right, so they were a northbound vehicle and they were from the east, so it was the first segment that they were crossing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so 704 Belhaven, this is in Prince George's County. This happened, again, this was a night crash. The pedestrian was kind of crossing from the, we're going to call it the northwest quadrant, and kind of did like a diagonal to the southeast quadrant. So it was difficult. I think there were some other factors there.
Was there a crosswalk or no?
Yeah, there's crosswalks on all four lanes here.
But not in that cross diagonal?
Not in the diagonal.
Yeah, they're going diagonal.
Okay.
So we reviewed, make sure all the lighting and stuff was in place. We didn't really see anything from infrastructure on this one, but this corridor has had a history of crashes with pedestrians, so it's one the district's definitely keeping an eye on. And I do know the automated speed enforcement is being considered to help with controlling speeds, because this section also is pretty wide. It's 3 lanes in each direction. So the speeds tend to be a little bit higher.
When you say there's history of prior pedestrian crashes there, are they similar type of interaction? I just wonder if there's any over in education or even law enforcement.
So there was one I presented, I guess, in our first meeting that wasn't at this intersection, but wasn't far from here. Again, it's close to an intersection where someone, it was at night. So there are a lot of, the land use here, there are a lot of generators and you can see all the residential,
And then there's a
shopping centers that could entice someone to say, oh, I can make it across. I don't need to go to the signal.
Do you know if it's on the radar of the PG Police Department down there, back to what Chrissy was saying with enforcement? Like, do you know if they've talked to the district? We're seeing them here, we're investigating them as well, we're looking to up enforcement.
I don't know the answer to that. I do know the district's received some requests about automated speed enforcement. I don't know if that was Prince George's County or some of the other municipalities.
But somebody.
Yeah.
You're right, PG has different municipalities, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just saying it might be an opportunity to get the that we could assist with, right?
Do you know what the other contributing circumstances were? It wasn't infrastructure, so did they dart out in front of a vehicle, or was the vehicle speeding, or was somebody impaired?
They were crossing diagonal, which is.
So they were crossing two different, travel paths.
Oh, geez. That was a good scramble, but.
That's a huge intersection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is- And you said looks like there's a lot of, is there a lot of street lighting? It looks.
We have lighting on the corners, and then there's the lighting from the adjacent, shopping centers. So we didn't really see lighting. I mean, it's at night, so it's not like broad daylight, but we didn't see it as a dark condition out there.
One thing we're seeing in one of our jurisdictions is the light from those businesses, that in addition to the street lighting, especially at night, I don't know if you would call it light pollution, but they're really worried about that and trying to work back with the businesses if there's a way to, at least when they close at night, maybe tone it down or something. So that, it might not be your lighting, but maybe the other land use owners.
In the intersection looks fairly large. I know I just recently crossed a extremely large intersection, so if, you're thinking the logical thing, you want to just go from point A to point B to B is minimal, but obviously we have the infrastructure that should be used. Are there slip lanes, and are there refuge, so as they're going between different things? I can't quite tell if there's.
I think there's no slip lanes, but it is wide. So this is one of the things where, I guess looking forward, do we need this roadway to be 6 lanes? Could we get by with 2 lanes in each direction, kind of tighten it up? So that's something that, again, we can monitor that moving forward. We've done that in other corridors where we've actually looked at it and reduced some of that capacity when it's not needed, but it also helps reinforce the speeds you want people to travel. So that's one of the things here is do you really need all 6 lanes in this section?
Cedric, just observation and understanding we're still continuing to perfect, but on these slides, if you can also, I mean, it's good to have the history, if you can put that actually written down in terms of history of crashes, and that'd be good. Then, I love where you're heading of, the width, right? The width enables the speed or the perception that you can go, higher than maybe the posted speed. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of your strategy and the department strategy, context matters, but what are some of the prevailing decisions that would be, your early inputs that you'd look at to factor in whether or not the road can be right size? I mean, typically, I'm not an engineer, but it's ADT, right, in terms of the number of cars that can move.
Yeah, we would look at that, the volumes, the peak volumes, and in this corridor, the intersections have pretty decent spacing.
Yeah.
So we would look at it from an operational. If we take a lane away, what would the Q-link be? Would that introduce a situation where peds are walking in between cars or queues backing through intersections? But ultimately, we would lean more on the safety, and even if it means we experience a little bit of delay in peak hour, but the rest of the day is fine, I think that's probably the better approach. But we would definitely look at the operational aspects of it just to make sure we're not introducing any other situations per se.
Yeah, and I think land use and trucks, the amount of trucks on the roadway definitely plays a factor. We would want to, do community outreach before making a decision like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that is, thank you. That's a big part of it is people feel like they're losing something. Mm-hmm. And somehow we need to, if it means 1 minute more in your travel, but your community is safer, you should be willing to make that trade-off.
That's why that context is important if we've seen repeated fatalities.
Yeah, and sometimes we just need some support in that decision, elected officials and they're going to react to the way the community feels. So it's just, we have to weigh all of that.
Cedric, I know you said you did one here before. Has this risen up to VRU or the PSAP or anything, or is it just coincidence we've had two in the past year?
No, well, I'll just say the corridors in Prince George's County, to me, even if they aren't identified, a lot of them are right at the cusp.
Gotcha.
But we've had some, in different sections of 704, there have been areas where we've had to focus. So
it'll affect it upstream.
So I guess going towards DC or west of here, we spent a lot of time. We weren't able to reduce the number of lanes, but we did lower the speed limit. We worked with the county and I think that was, I forget which municipality, but providing automated enforcement. We were able to introduce some shorter distances between where the signalized crossings were. So that's similar if we can just
okay, that might ease this one in since it's just further down. Awesome. Okay.
Before you go to the next one, we reviewed 3724, 3849, 3708. We will entertain a motion to approve the reviews.
So the first one you were going to go back though and with a crash report, right? So maybe we hold that one out if that's okay until we get the crash report, because it seems like that context is really helpful as you're able to give on these other ones.
Yes.
Everybody's okay with that?
Sure. 3849, 3708.
Okay.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And we need a second. Second. There you go. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I think something we can add, we're going to talk about the website at some point, but I think one of the things we can talk about is adding a marker that says the case was reviewed. So that way when somebody goes onto the website to look at fatality reviews, they'll know it was reviewed, and we could put the date of the Vision Zero meeting, so if they wanted to go see the video, they could go see that. I mean, that's probably something that they'd like to see moving forward.
To the next one. This crash, again, was in Prince George's County. This is at 214 Cameron Road. This also occurred at night, and it was very close to an intersection. Just to the northwest, I think you can see that little blue circle. There's a transit stop. So when we did our review, we didn't see anything other than where our crosswalk on the west side ends. There's really no connection to the transit stop, so folks have to walk in the shoulder. So there's an opportunity there to kind of make that final connection and get people out of harm's way there. So that's something we will be looking into for this one.
Is that a Ramada stop?
There's lighting in it.
Yeah, there's lighting.
Yeah, it is.
Wamata.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's get that taken care
of. Any ridership data for that stop from Lamont?
I don't.
Well, we didn't move it during the bus network redesign.
It just happened, so that would have been a yeah, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, at least the staff.
Mm-hmm. So with these kind of enhancements, when you talk about, I'm sure it's the district kind of prioritizes amongst the other maintenance efforts they're doing, but what's like an average time frame that maybe the community could expect to see a change here, like a connection to a bus stop in this example? Or it's hard to estimate.
It's hard to estimate depending on other priorities. Obviously, in Prince George's County,
it's a lot going on.
There's a lot of priorities, right? I would think typically 12 to 18 months because there is permitting involved in that. They are doing other projects, every time they, resurface a roadway. it's ADA ramps, so there is a lot of sidewalk work. So that would be a pretty general estimate, the 18.
To the next one. So this crash again was in Prince George's County. This is actually within the PSAP project limits. It was at the 650 and Lebanon, which is just north of the 650 and 93 major intersection there. So this one again was a driver was heading northbound in lane 3, and a pedestrian kind of just for what the police report indicated for reasons unknown started crossing and that's where they collided. So again, this was a night crash at an intersection. This intersection overall and all the other ones in this project will be implementing measures including tightening, restricting some movements. So like it might be hard to see, but that there's a frontage road kind of on the northwest side. There are going to be measures to harden that, to restrict some of the vehicular movements that can come out of that location. So yeah, this corridor is being addressed now, and hopefully with these improvements we can see some good results.
So the pedestrian was crossing to the north side where there's no crosswalk, or were they within the crosswalk?
They south or north of the intersection?
They were, according to the police report, they were on the south side of it.
Yeah.
Federal highway question. Are there any light features available on these pedestrian cross intersections or other features to help both pedestrians and drivers' visibility?
So there is intersection lighting here, and that's a big part of that. We work to try to find any gaps where with the SHA lighting, and we actually partner with Montgomery County. They're going to actually help us maintain. So we did look for those dark spots in the corridor to provide additional lighting.
Georgia County.
Yeah, we'll double check that. So this next crash happened on I-270, again, a night crash, pedestrian flip. This was about a half mile south of Maryland 28 interchange. And according to the police, this was some interesting circumstances on this one. But we did perform a field review. We didn't really see anything per se from an infrastructure standpoint, but there were some other factors here that kind of made this a very unique, bizarre, unfortunate case.
It wasn't related to a disabled vehicle or anything, was it? On 270.
So there was, apparently the victim was involved in a crash in the northbound direction and fled the scene. And so, yeah, this one is very unfortunate. Overall, with crashes on the interstates, we're trying to just make sure we do more with signing, move over. Oftentimes we can correlate pedestrians on the highway with disabled vehicles or something like that. So that was what happened in this case.
Okay. 3 more. 3712, 3737, and 3692. I think the other thing that we'll do, we can't approve these unless there's something we want to make sure we hold out on those, but because some of them talk about future, we'll just make a note there. So we'll do what we're going to do with the last 3 cases that down the road. We can revisit them and say, what changes were made, so we don't have to not approve them based on something we know is going to be made within, the next 12 or 18 months.
Well, and since several of them have been in this PSAP area, it might be nice just to do a bit of an overview at one of the future meetings about what some of those enhancements look like. I know some of us are familiar from, other efforts, but also as the general public and those who are listening to have awareness there.
So we'll have notes on those, but I think unless there's something that we want to make sure we go back and look at right now, we can go ahead and have a motion to approve those three. There's only a few of us, so you can flip them.
A motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries. Tim, thank you, because sometimes an estimate of 12 to 18 months for something turns out to be longer, so.
Yeah, it's just, we'll just keep them alive, so we know that.
Yep, utility.
Or something else.
Right away, property owners.
Yeah, you never know what's gonna come up.
Sidewalks run
I will, just for the people, because we're doing this for the first time, doing the voting, so just for the folks online, we have for the record, the 5 members of the board for the review are administrator of state highway or designate, administrator of MVA or designate, TSO, secretary's office representative, and MBTA administrator or designate, and the Vision Zero coordinator. So there's 5 of us that make up the voting block and the motions and seconds. So when you see the same people taking turns motioning and seconding, you know why.
Thank you. All right, Cedric.
This next crash happened in downtown Silver Spring in Montgomery County. This was one we initially did without the police report, and after receiving the police report, we recognized it was actually on a county road, but it was still generally within the state intersection, so we left it in. But this was a very tragic situation where this was a crash between a pedestrian and a transit vehicle. The transit vehicle had stopped at the bus stop, and for some reason the pedestrian was I don't know if they were trying to get on the bus or approach the bus, but the driver obviously didn't see them, and that's where the collision occurred. So when we did our field review, we didn't observe that one of the lights at the intersection was not functioning, the overhead street lights. And so we did submit a request for Petco to repair that fixture. All right. This crash occurred in Anne Arundel County, right close to the line of Anne Arundel and Prince George's. This is at 198 and Whiskey Bottom. This was actually one of the few crashes that occurred in the day, so 11 a.m. But essentially, a vehicle was trying to head north on Old Annapolis. That's kind of I'll call it the jug handle kind of at the bottom of the intersection. And they wanted to turn right or head east on 198. However, they did not observe the pedestrian who was stepping off the crosswalk. So this is a case, again, where we're monitoring, we'll work with the district to see if a no turn on red would help with this situation. And that's what happened here. A vehicle, they were trying to turn on red. They didn't take the time to look both left and right. They didn't notice the pedestrian that stepped out. They were so focused on trying to find a gap in traffic.
So if I was looking like.
Was the vehicle traveling all the way from the south to the north, or was it coming out of the convenience center right to?
You said it was coming from the north, right?
From the south.
It was coming from the south.
But it was traveling the entire length of the road. I'm just looking at the street here, and looks like we've got a convenience kind of shopping center right there. also might add distraction in terms of access to Old Annapolis.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far back, the diagram on the report just showed.
Where it was going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, the pedestrian was crossing from kind of right to left in that crosswalk.
Ugh.
I just have to see about the signal timing, if they had the cross signal or not, because it sounds like the pedestrian was doing everything we told them to do, and it was, one of those cases that, it's not about the road, it's about.
Well, and then the driver was looking left.
Yeah.
The driver was looking left, so if there was a lot of traffic, cars, and then he saw his brake, so did the pedestrian. But they were both looking for the brake in traffic.
And we could really get in the weeds if we want. A lot of times, some of the newer, what type of vehicle it was, some of the vehicle designs, the A-pillar block where that pedestrian was stepping off into the, a lot of things that make me nervous if you look 3 times.
Yeah.
That's not looking right when you're turning, if everybody's focused like this.
Yeah, everybody's looking left to make sure, because that's what they were waiting. They were waiting for that break in traffic, and they both were. So,
It's unsignalized, so.
and the pedestrian didn't anticipate the car, and he might not have known that car was making a right on red.
Right.
Yeah, no turn signal, I have no idea.
Yeah, he might, we don't know if turn
Is
signal.
it the right turn only lane that the car was likely in?
Yeah, it looks like it's right turn only. He's looking across 2 other lanes, traveling with them too, which is hard, but probably this is a driver's fault.
Yeah, and the geometry, there's a kind of what I call an empty space that we painted out. Typically, you would see like a concrete island. But overall, like that intersection approach probably can be tightened up a little bit. There's pavement that's out there that's not utilized. But in the interim, I think a no turn on red.
Well, it says it's unsignalized, so there's no red. We keep saying right on red, and I realize it says unsignalized.
I'm sorry, that's the error. This is signalized.
Okay. Never mind.
That's the error on the slides.
I mean, it's the same thing.
With the
right on red,
pedestrian
I see that, yeah.
indicator too?
Yes, there's
Yeah,
pedestrian.
Okay.
Do both lanes stop at the same area for like left and right?
Yes.
So it would meet the kind of the criteria for no right on red?
Yeah, so in certain contexts, like in our urban cores, we've kind of proactively started implementing these no turn on reds for this specific reason. This one is not in that, it's contexty, but that doesn't preclude us from looking at it. And I think that even looking left, it's not like a clear, it's a little bit of a mound. It's not really a great visibility from, we're looking at possibly installing this no turn on red here at this intersection.
So would this be a good candidate for other notation to come back then?
Yes.
Okay.
What's is there much of a history of crash?
Almost. Almost all of the ones we've done have a notation we'll come back and see what they've done.
Not much for VRUs as far as the crash history.
Prevalent for vehicles?
Not even really prevalent for vehicles. And it comes and goes sometimes. But yeah, there's some other intersections on this corridor that have been more of a focus area. I guess as you get closer to Washington Parkway to the east. But this is a pretty wide road. Speeds are high on 198. As you kind of, I guess, leave Maryland City and kind of transition into that Laurel area. There's, I guess, in between here and like Route 1, the speed can be a little high. So the next case is in southern Maryland, Charles County. This was on Maryland 5. This also happened in dark at just after midnight. This one's a little, we didn't really have a lot of information to go off of. It's a very rural context. And literally this is a case where someone was trying to cross the road and it's a dark, we don't have lighting. It wasn't at an intersection.
I know we had some others in Charles County. Is this anywhere near that? In the prior meetings, there were some in similar context.
Yeah, so the other ones seem to be more like around the Waldorf area. But we've had, I know at the CTP the last few years, that's been an issue.
Topic of conversation.
How can they've had so much development.
Yeah.
How can we introduce, and with Maryland 5, with, people sometimes use that as a bypass if there's anything going on 301 or, so it is a challenging corridor for State Highway. We're also getting some, sometimes questions or inquiries about delays being
congestion,
right? But yeah, they're overall Maryland 5 has started to show up with more of these unfortunate events.
The crash report didn't say why they were crossing.
No.
It looks like a field on one side.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, we were trying to where were they going, where were they coming from?
And there was no broken down vehicle or anything that would explain it.
No.
It's a barbecue restaurant.
It was
That's way down the road.
It's pretty far down.
And they're not open at 12:01.
Yeah. Just barbecue, no alcohol.
No.
I say I'd go for the field.
Okay, we've got 3 more. We'll include the notes on there about see if the lighting fixture was repaired and upgrade of the no turn on red or the upgrade to high visibility. We'll make those notes to come back, but otherwise 3688, 3693, and 3732. We'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thanks, Edric.
Yep.
Next one.
All right, so the next one is in Baltimore County. It occurred on 795, just south of the Owings Mills off-ramp. Again, a night crash. Based on the information from the police report, we feel this one may have been related to a disabled vehicle. So the report indicated that a vehicle made a sudden swerve, and then the vehicle behind couldn't recognize and react. There was someone in the road. And so, unfortunately, but the police believe that person, I guess there was some disabled vehicle or something around. They made a connection in the report. So for this one, again, it's about us being strategic with trying to reinforce move over laws, putting additional signings. These events with
That's pretty well lit, even at night on 795.
As you,
Because that's right where the two lanes start to branch off.
yeah, this is right at that transition area. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm just, as opposed to some of the other roadways, I think there was some lighting there at night. This was just that unfortunate circumstances, the car swerving.
I just don't know how to
So
get
very
hard
to recognize.
people leaving the vehicles. I see it during the day, and it's just as dangerous, frankly, when you're on these interstates and people are getting out of the car during the day.
When it's a pretty straight portion of it, it's a high speed, they get up to speed a lot. So that's 795. And
Yeah, I
then
think
cut
it's
over and
60.
go all the Owings Mills.
But yeah, the getting in and staying in, I actually, I had an incident, and I was on the side of 95, and when AAA got there, I was already in my car, but they said only to get out while they jacked it up, and then asked me to get back in my car. Of course, this doesn't sound like they had service, but, it's good to see there are service people that are going out or trying to do their best to message, so I was pretty impressed with that.
Would that be appropriate use of one of the messaging board, if we came up with some messages. I know there's limitations on what we can do.
Yeah.
Move over law, we have messages.
Yeah, but not so much moving
Staying
over,
in-
staying in the vehicle.
Roadside emergency, stay in your vehicle.
Emergency stay in your vehicle.
Because I don't think we've ever
Disabled,
done that. I
stay
know
in
we
your
do it for
vehicle.
move over, but,
That's right by where the Metro Center is, correct? So the Metro's running down the median. I wonder if maybe they'd be willing to put even just some type of sign
Mhm.
facing the highway that we have another place to stay in your vehicle or something. I mean, I know it's chasing one incident. I'm not
Right.
saying that, but-
Only thing we had when we made that campaign was the legal aspects, that if something's wrong with your vehicle, we are telling people to stay in their vehicle, but then it's,
On fire.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Or like something like that, then where you could be liable for like telling someone to stay in, I don't know. That was the concern, that we needed to give all options at the time.
Maybe something like don't cross 4-lane high-speed.
Well, it's-
Your
It
vehicle.
is hard
I
to
don't
get
know that
that.
that'll fit
That's
with
a
the
little
message.
hard to get on that
Like you
VM.
leave your vehicle.
I guess I just get frustrated when we're like 1% or less than 1%, and the 99% that need to hear the message are not hearing it because we're allowing the small,
We can increase.
seldomly
Think before you
happening
leave.
things.
We said, use common sense, so.
And it's still hard because they think they're using common sense. If you break down there and there's a metro station right there, you can get somewhere where you need to be, or you break down, you know where you are, or you ran out of gas, and you know there's a gas station because you're a half a mile short of the exit.
Right.
So you get out of your car.
Highways are dead to use common sense, yeah.
Well, there's big stores right there. It's what is it, BJ's or so- like you see these stores.
Well,
on the other
at
side
nine
of the road.
o'clock-
If I can get over
At
there, I
9
can get
o'clock,
home.
you're
At
still
night,
thinking you've
I
got a
can get
chance.
home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not 1 a.m. when you know nothing's open.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to break that
I
when
think
they
there's
see
also,
that.
yeah, there's a challenge too in terms of the instinct. If you
Yes.
get rear-ended,
Yeah.
you know, the natural instinct is to get out and vacate
See
the
what's
vehicle,
happening,
and that's
yeah.
just not what you should be doing, and it's hard to, you know,
Well,
Like-
sometimes people are in
life,
shock.
life takes over. right?
Exactly.
Right.
Sadly.
So, this next crash occurred in Montgomery County, on Beers Mill Road, Maryland 586. This is in the, RT alignment, phase 1. This happened just east of the signalized intersection with Monterey and North Drive. And, another, kind of weird situation here, but, this involved I would say not a pedal and foot or bike, but what we call a roller, a skateboard. Apparently was in lane 2, and vehicle did not see him, and a collision happened.
At midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this corridor has been a focus area for SHA and the county. We've worked with the county to kind of advance. About a year ago, just to the west, maybe a half mile, there's another intersection, Pendleton. So we've worked with the county to break that out, to bring a new signal, to introduce another safe crossing in the corridor. That work is actually should be awarded to a contractor later this month to get started. And ultimately, once the BRT project gets moving, it will definitely repurpose some of the width here. But in addition to that, we've been working to reduce speed limits, work with the county on locations for automated enforcement, and introduce some of these crossings. And Pendleton was one that made sense to just advance. That was originally part of the larger BRT project, but based on the recent crashes in this vicinity of corridor, we felt it was best to bring that forward.
And you don't know what it was, because I was, I don't know, it was a state road, but it was near home. I was walking, but there was a gentleman with a skateboard skating across the state road, because there's a little culvert in a parking lot, so he was doing a jump on the culvert. And while I'm walking past, I'm looking like, why are you doing that here? He was filming because he had his cell phone set up in the parking lot so he could film him doing that. And I don't know how you change that. Because if he decides to do that at night or something like that, then you're not going to see him there either.
Does this road have bike lanes or anything? I know, or any facilities like that that we could say in this case, skateboarders should?
Yeah, not in this particular section.
Okay.
But, yeah, so there's
sidewalks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's
There are facilities.
yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
And the BRT will bring some additional features forward. All right, so this next one is up in Baltimore County at Liberty Road and Essex Road. So this was, this one also occurred at night, the theme here. So we did do a review, we did identify some improvements here. So the intersection already has high visibility crosswalks and lighting. We have SHA lighting, and there's some poles that BG&E provide lights as well. Pavement markings are in good shape, but this is a case where, again, unfortunately, there were some other factors involved. The pedestrian was hit once. The person fled the scene, and then another vehicle hit the pedestrian. They fled the scene.
Was there impairment involved by the drivers? Any indication on the crash report? No?
Did they even get the drivers, or they just fled? And
So I think they were able to identify one.
Okay.
But yeah, both vehicles who struck the pedestrian fled the scene initially. And so the pedestrian was kind of standing on the, I guess that's the southeast quadrant.
Yeah, you guys have done a lot of work on the Liberty Road.
Yeah, I mean, the Liberty Road's been a challenging corridor, I know.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
Case, right? So.
Okay. 3840, so these didn't have a whole lot to follow up on. So 3847, 3682, and 3943. We have a motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve, Bruce.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Case is approved.
That's because I touched the mouse.
There we go.
All right. So this next one also in Baltimore County, just at night, late August, at 9 o'clock. You're probably fully dark at that point. This is in the Rosedale area. In fact, you can see the SHA Golden Ring shop on the east, right there on the east of the screen. And this has been an area that we've struggled with pedestrian. This is kind of, I call it like old Baltimore, new Baltimore, right? Like 40 used to be the main going up the East Coast, and you still have a lot of that infrastructure in place. We have concrete barriers through this stretch. Pedestrians often, we observed, sometimes hop the wall or they try to sprint across, and this section is posted at 50 miles per hour. This is a section in between the Baltimore City line and the Beltway. So we, in years past, we have added some additional signals to try to provide break up those long stretches where there are no crossings. But there's still some challenges here. The other thing is there's connectivity with sidewalk, there are gaps. It's a mixed use. You have industry, you have concrete plants, you have FHA facilities, you have convenience stores, you have residential, one big community there. And so there were some other factors involved in this crash based on the report. But this is a corridor that has been identified in the VRU assessment, and something that we're continuing to try to figure out how to manage this. But essentially, this section and the adjacent section, which is just, you frequently see people walking along the road or trying to cross the road. And whenever there's an event on 995, people get on 40. So there's still a desire for this, you know, in some people's mind, to maintain a more of a mobility-focused corridor, where a local community is feeling this should be more of a local corridor.
And with the industrial, accommodate the trucks as well.
Right. This is also a priority in the police department, in Baltimore County Police Department. They've actually, some of their crash team members reached out to the highway safety office. Not this particular piece of it, but another segment, which isn't that far up to 40, and looking into that for pedestrian, bicycle, fatal crashes, things like that, and working with Doug and some of the other grantees for data analysis, and may actually try and do something in conversation with the district office. And been talking to Peter in the office, and he's kept us up to speed on some of the things going on there. So this is definitely on a lot of people's radar. VRU corridor. Lighting.
Next crash is in Anne Arundel County. It's not far from here. This was on Maryland 3 Business, just south of Maryland 100. And as you can see from the dot on the map, you have some traffic generators on both sides of the road there. There's signalized intersections just off the screen north of 100, and then kind of midway here. So it's about a quarter mile in between signalized intersections. There's a lack of sidewalk connectivity with the bridge structure there and the abutments. There is no sidewalk on the west side in that area. And on the east, we do have some sidewalk, but overall, it's not really well connected. It's not, with all the, traffic generators in the area. So this is one we want to look at on some ways to maybe improve with filling in some sidewalk gaps and looking at the signalized intersections in the corridor and providing those pedestrian crossings where needed.
And you have the district coming up.
How big an area is that?
I'm sorry?
How big an area will you look at? Is this going to be part of it, the VRU for them? Will it come up here to the...
I can't remember if this segment made the list.
Way.
But we would extend this. This corridor runs, I know going to the north, this is probably a 1.5 2-mile segment of that we would look at. And the crossings here are, most people aren't going to walk a quarter mile to cross the road. They're just going to...
Well, in the hospital, right? The hospital drive is...
hospital goes...
So you may have people that are
Yeah.
able to be discharged, but not going to walk miles, like you said.
Yep.
Right.
Or not familiar with the area coming to visit them. That was taken up.
Yes. Yeah, there is also some transit.
Okay.
All right. Next crash happened in Prince George's County, right on the bridge there over the Anacostia River. This was a mid-block crossing. Again, it happened at night. This is one where we didn't have the crash report when we initially did the review. We just recently received that. Let me see if I can pull up my notes here. But this one, based on the report, it sounds like the driver was trying to find something in their vehicle, and they lost control and kind of ran off the road. So yeah, apparently they were trying to reach for a cigarette lighter while they were driving, and they took their attention off driving and ran off the road.
So the bridge just has a shoulder.
And that driver.
No, they hit.
Oh,
The one in the car.
Yeah.
So the pedestrian is just walking along the bridge and
Yeah.
is there like a sidewalk or just a shoulder or? Okay.
Yeah, it's a sidewalk there.
It is a sidewalk on the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, for 3876, we will add it to the list of seeing what comes back from the VRU, but there's nothing urgent to not put it on the approval list. So 3945, 3876, and 3857. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
And second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Sorry, just on that last one. What are the sidewalk widths there?
I'm not sure. I would have to look to see what's in the report, but they look pretty.
Yeah.
It's an older bridge, so I'd be surprised if they're.
Yeah, you're not going to really be able to.
They're skinny.
You could probably get a little bit of feet to shrink the width of the lanes to slow folks down, but it's not necessarily it's just bad driving. But.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, bad driving's out there. So
Yeah.
narrowness doesn't help, certainly.
Yeah.
No.
Like you're also like in a space that you feel should be protected.
Safe, yeah. Right.
All right.
So this next crash also occurred in Prince George's County. This occurred in the Purple Line construction area at 410 and 58. So once the Purple Line construction is complete, this whole footprint will be different. A lot of facilities for bikes and peds will be part of that ultimate configuration. Just so some information about the crash. This was another bike crash. The bike was in the road, and according to a police report, they were in lane 2. And for some reason, they abruptly made a hard left. They tried to actually use the crosswalk, but the vehicle behind them did not have time to react. And so that's where the collision occurred. The driver did remain on the scene, and there was a witness who also verified that those events. So yeah, the bike was kind of heading westbound in lane 2. There was a vehicle some distance behind. When the bicyclists got to the intersection, they kind of made a hard left to kind of be parallel with the crosswalk. But that didn't give the approaching vehicle behind them enough time to react.
There are 3 lanes there, so they were in the middle.
Yeah.
See that playing with cars, or this is my turn.
Okay.
So, Chrissy, this part of, this is 301, we'll call it 301 share. This is in Waldorf. This is the section where we've received concerns about adding additional pedestrian crossings. 301 is not designed right now for pedestrians. There's a lot of missing sidewalk gaps. We don't really have pedestrian crosswalks at the intersections. We installed the first one, I think, in this Waldorf area last year. So this crash occurred at 2 in the morning, so it was a night crash. So this crash occurred in the northbound direction, and they don't really know why, but it seems like the pedestrian stepped off the curb and the driver. So to me, it sounds like they were trying to cross the road, and the driver didn't recognize them being there.
Maybe that. Did you say if there was lighting in that area?
So at Acton Lane itself, we have lighting. This was a little bit north of the intersection, and there's a lot of development. I'm not sure how much ambient lighting is prevalent on the road from that distance.
I'm thinking maybe that was a 24-hour wall or something, and they were trying to get somewhere. It looks like lighting from the Walmart wouldn't help the road.
Not on that side.
The roadway looks blocked by the trees.
Yeah.
There's something on the other side maybe, but.
Yeah.
So like I said, this is a corridor we are looking at not only for safety. We also have been questioned about operations in this corridor, and it's trying to really just find that place where it's safe operations. So adding additional crosswalks is an opportunity for us in this corridor. Kind of right now, the distances in between intersections is definitely an auto-focused corridor. And with the amount of development that's happened in this corridor, there's definitely opportunity to improve the pedestrian facility, vulnerable road user facility. And then this is the last crash. This happened on Interstate 70, just around the West Friendship Truckway and Inspection Station. This was almost a year ago to the day. Another night crash. Very unique circumstances with this one as well. Apparently someone got out of their vehicle that was heading east. They crossed 70 and they tried to recross, go back, but that's where they were unfortunately collided with several vehicles. So it wasn't clear from the police report why they were crossing and why they tried to cross back.
We had a siren case there.
Well, I'm thinking at 9:30, the way station would be closed too, right? So it would probably just be truck parking or something.
So they thought there was something over there.
Yeah, were they trying to get help and get back?
Right. They saw a police car that was parked there, maybe it was,
And then, they ran up on the embankment to the right of 70 before you get to the way station and rolled over.
Okay, so it was a disabled vehicle.
No, that was we did a siren.
And that was a traumatic.
We had a siren case
okay.
Back in our crash reconstruction days that ran up on the embankment, exact same spot.
So, but it's a straight piece of road.
Straight piece of road.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, they went over to see. They saw the way station and went over to see if there was somebody there, and there was.
So this one's probably related to that because according to a police report, they were in a vehicle heading east. I don't know if that vehicle had an issue or problem, and maybe they thought they could get some assistance from the way station.
But
They tried
they got
to cross.
over and were coming back. It's like, oh gosh, they already did it once. It's their return that they got.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's.
I think that's your last one. So we have 3854, 3836, and 3875. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Case reviews are approved. And then we had a couple from the previous meeting, so this is how it'll look when we...
Yeah, and in retrospect, I probably should have attached the slides to
refresh us.
Everyone's memory. So 193 in Chantilly Lane, I was in Prince George's County, happened about 500 feet east of a signalized intersection. SHA, we recently put that signal in. And this was a crash where someone was trying to cross the road. So working with our districts, they've been looking at adding additional warning signage for pedestrians there. It's mainly suburban residential housing on both sides of the road. And then from the December meeting, there were two cases. One was on Maryland 151 in Charlestown, found going towards like the Dundalk area. That section of 151 is high speed. You have residential on one side, kind of some industry on another. This crash happened also at night. So again, this is a case where we want to add some additional, there's already signing to indicate bikes for the bike, well, the shoulder is marked for the bike lane, but we also want to add some signs there indicating pedestrians in the corridor. And then the final one was a crash on I-70 around mile marker 60. This was one we believe that was, again, related to a disabled vehicle. So we've been working with the district to consider adding signs. They're going to add some pet prohibition signs. They went back and did some additional research with the police, and apparently they couldn't find a disabled vehicle around that area, so they suspect there were some other factors going on.
Yeah, I remember this one. There wasn't one when we talked about it the first time. He was walking along 70.
So that's why they're moving forward with installing the head prohibition sign so that people know that they can't walk the interstate.
I know we've talked about it before at the TRCC meetings about whether or not we could add a disabled vehicle or some sort of indicator to the crash report. But I wonder if through the pedestrian review process we can try to get a better handle on, because we've never known percentage of pedestrian crashes that are caused by this. So do you think there's a way that we can somehow calculate based on going through these, since you have more detail at that point, at least what you know, like in this one wasn't clear, but for the ones that we know, so we can at least approximate what this is. Yeah. I think people believe they're one-offs, and to me, just, based on the nature of what we see, I don't think that's the case. I think it's a much bigger percentage of the pedestrian fatalities than we acknowledge.
Agreed.
Which would be helpful in framing, I think.
And
that'd be great.
Like you had mentioned, I think that education component would be helpful. If it's safe, stay in your vehicle.
Right.
Yeah, because we see it too often, and I think that, if there is a fender bender or something, they want to check their vehicle or they want to try and go to the police station.
But I think once you call for assistance, still stay there, because they might think I've called, they'll be 10 or 15 minutes, maybe I can get over the, and there might be that, so even after you call for help.
Yeah.
Still stay there.
And even that important advice about staying buckled up, because we've had officers that were hit that weren't buckled, that got seriously injured because some impaired driver or speeding.
The ones that do survive pretty well when they are buckled in. I
Yeah,
mean, that side,
that's right.
I was just told about an incident recently where, the video showed, being hit from behind.
Yeah.
But he was,
yeah.
Yeah, tow truck drivers.
Yeah.
There's frequent fatalities there, and they have the lights in the truck, and it's not a safe situation.
Right, for anybody.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good conversation.
I think that's a good number on it.
18 is.
I think 18 is a good number.
Probably the max.
I think we could.
Should keep us on.
Yeah, you need to.
An observation after, this was very comprehensive and sad.
Yeah.
There's always, it's tough to sit there and say, like, we're gonna solve all of these on our own design, right? Or better marketing or messaging. I think there's elements of, like, who else should be at the table when we go through this. And that's kind of my reflection of, like, where, and again, I don't know who's online with us here, but county representatives, right? Sometimes they're asking for stuff for years and we're unable to do it. Maybe they'll have some input. Maybe go through this with us, because this is unfortunate.
I mean, I am glad Cindy and Todd are here to do that too, just to acknowledge, because they do meet pretty regularly with those, so.
We do try to advertise this meeting, so hopefully they will watch and be able to.
I mean, maybe there's a way to, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt that thought, but if we know there's crashes in certain, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Vision Zero coordinators, if we got 10 of them from a certain county or something.
And we can group them together if it makes it easier for the locals to try to do it that way, even if it's out of chronological order, as long as you all have had a chance to do your review.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be helpful, if we could, look at the, travel from north to south, south to north of the state or something,
Yeah, I mean, they might add context, but they might also validate, right? Police and, these are a year old. I mean, some of these, like the individual who was struck in the sidewalk on a bridge, what happened to the driver who struck said individual on a bridge?
They generally, I'll say the police remember all these cases.
Yeah.
The ones that go out and investigate them, because we have too many, but they, I mean, I'm sure Cynthia can attest to this. They could come in and speak to that crash from a year ago.
Yeah.
We can look those things up. It depends on where they would be with litigation, if we wanted to discuss it in this.
They could speak to their report.
Well, we can talk about what's on the report, because that's public. We're reluctant to talk about a couple of them because we don't want to say they were impaired and there's, still litigation going on and.
No, I mean, and I acknowledge the good work that you all are doing with, the judicial system. But at the end of the day, if there's not accountability for folks that are driving in unsafe fashions, there's only so much that our team on the design side can do, and that's the sad reality of it. So I don't know, how we bring this to their doorstep as well.
We can continue to think about that, but I think at least to bring the locals in and trying to frame it out so that it makes sense. And even the NPOs, I mean, it's great that you're here, but we got Southern Maryland too, right? So we can bring them to the table when we're doing some of these like Charles County crashes, because they also have an important role in kind of bringing folks together for the street highway safety plan and things.
Well, I'll advocate for those local teams, and if you do have some that are in it, like you said, the Vision Zero coordinators, or even to say to them, these are some of the crashes, they may say, our public health partner could have something to contribute or something, and maybe it's even just sending a message out beforehand and say, here's the quick beats on these crashes, do you know anything about that area? Not necessarily to make this a 5-hour meeting and have everybody contribute, but if they have something to come in and say, one crash we looked at, it wouldn't have been yours, it was a county road, but when Howard County did it, it was right outside of an adult resource facility, and it was all the, so things like that where they said, well, we can take resources there and we can talk to the transit stop, that could just be a nugget of information to bring here in this case, is not necessarily have people.
And when we were at that site visit, we talked to the people that weren't using the sidewalks and says, why are you walking along the road when there's a sidewalk up here? And the answers that you get are, kind of revealing, because they The roadway was, one of them was using a walker. One of them was using a cane. They felt safer on the roadway because it was more even. They felt safer on the roadway because of where the sidewalk ran. It ran along a wooded area, and they felt safer down on down the roadway. So it's interesting to talk to them while they're actively walking down the roadway, and we're up standing on the sidewalk saying, why are you?
Howard County has taken to doing those. They've done 2 of them with their safety teams. Baltimore County is looking into 2 different sites to potentially do road safety audits, but not just engineering or just enforcement, but to bring them, if it's near a school or public health, all of that together. So, like I said, we're in contact with Peter over there about that to determine when it gets set up, who would go from the district office. But, so some of the locals are starting to do that, so it could be something we just reach out and say, do you have any comments about this piece of 795? Like,
Yeah.
So are you saying, I know the example, like the local in Howard County, they have their county statute to do their local
they do
review.
this version, yeah.
Do any other jurisdictions do that yet?
Not by statute.
Not by statute, but some are doing that.
I know Prince George's County does one as well.
I think Prince George's
Sheriff,
County
they do it.
But I don't believe it's.
So there's at least 3.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm aware, yeah. Maybe if we could get the shore to do it for some of theirs, I'm sure some of theirs would be good to look into during the summer months and everything for patterns.
Yeah.
But haven't reached out to them quite yet, but that's on the horizon.
Okay. Do we have any?
Yeah.
We do not, but if we can ask, since our online population doubled in the last 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Here you go.
7 to 13.
We'll take it.
Oh, Joe, before you start saying we're being
So if there's any comments online, please go ahead and type them in. Otherwise, anything else for the good of the.
Do you have any additional
Any other
feedback?
topics? Anything you'd like to see? The next meeting is October 16th. We'll work, Cedric, I'll put a group together and send it out to you. We'll try to accommodate all the comments that were made here. And we'll also have some updates from probably half of the emphasis area teams. So we'll probably do 2 at the October meeting and then 2 in the January meeting so we have time for reviews and discussions for the next meeting.
Well, this was really tough, so appreciate everybody's work on it. And just go back to kind of the opening, we are making progress. We are where we want to be, so let's keep making progress.
And it's tough conversations like this that help continue moving that forward. I think the dialogue was really helpful during the conversation. And I think there are lots of opportunities. And I think even having the locals, as we talk about that education piece, they're going to be more in touch with like those shopping centers, or there's resource centers that we can link resources that the Highway Safety Office might have, or even law enforcement. Overtime dollars, most of these were at night when likely it would be, some overtime. So bringing those all together, I think, is going to be the key here, because you're right. I mean, you can't. It's important to look at the roadway design, but it's just not going to solve the whole challenge that is in front of us. So really appreciate everybody's thoughts and everybody's questions to help make this the best it possibly can be as we move forward. If nothing else, everybody have a wonderful and safe day. Thank you.